Andrew Zatlin is one of the smartest market analysts of 2018. On top of that, he is a bona fide Donald Trump expert, which is the primary reason this is a great interview to listen to. Trump's attitude may be controversial, but the results are conclusive. We are in a boom, but how long will it last? Check out this intense Q&A session and make sure you download the critical, exclusive report on the catastrophic outlook for fixed income and retirees at portfoliowealthglobal.com/bonds. Enjoy the podcast.
Welcome to the Leaders of Tomorrow show at portfoliowealthglobal.com. My name is Michelle Holliday. Today we are welcoming Mr. Andrew Zatlin. Andrew is a brilliant investor and an analyst whose institutional clients include some of the world's biggest firms. He is also an expert upon the current leader of the United States, President Donald Trump. Andrew is the founder of Moneyball Economics. He is an economist who spent 20 years in Silicon Valley at the beginning of the emergence of the digital revolution. We're excited to have him on the show to get his perspective upon the president's economic policy so far, his United Nations speech, his disapproval of higher interest rates, his strategy going forward, and his approval ratings. Andrew, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thanks for having me, Michelle. I'm going to put a stake in the ground right now.
Okay.
2020, the next presidential election, it's Donald Trump's if he wants it.
Perfect.
It's done. He's beaten the Democrats, and he's beaten them with the silly stick. And you're going to see that in the midterm elections. And I think his agenda is what we want to focus on. So if you take that assumption that he's going to win and he could be here for another 6 years, there's a lot we should talk about. What is a Donald Trump going to look like for 6 years?
Exactly. Why is the mainstream press so foolishly, deliberately, openly bashing President Trump? They take his words, they change the context in a way that's almost childish to sophisticated viewers that are watching it. What is your perspective on why and what is happening right now?
It's simple, calculated business. These are brands. The thing that we have to take a step back from is the concept that the press is trying to get to truth, and the press is going to try to bring out a balanced view. That's not at all what mainstream. At some point in time, they decided, CNN, for example, said there's a large base of people out there who will watch me if I bash Donald Trump and I'm pro Hillary Clinton and so on and so forth. At the same time, off on the right side, Fox News said, you know what, there's a strong base that loves it when I am anti-Hillary Clinton and anti-Obama, and I'm pro. So this is all business. It's all about building a brand. And there was a really interesting thing that came out, I want to say about a month ago. Very left-wing reporters pointed out, we are currently seeing a pretty ugly battle going on in Yemen, where the Saudis and Iran are fighting a proxy battle. You're talking 1 million people who are getting, somehow affected with diphtheria, all this horrible stuff going on, but we don't see that in the U.S. press. And this reporter said there's a basic reason why it's not being reported. I mean, you would imagine, oh my God, 1 million people getting killed, hurt, this should be front page. So he asked the question, why not? And the answer was, because Obama started this. This was initiated under Obama. So if you start talking about it, here's the problem. CNN, MSNBC, their listeners don't want to hear anything that undermines the concept that Obama was the knight in shining armor. And so they can't touch it. It's toxic. It's radioactive. And it's branding. And so what you're going to hear is anything that reinforces the brand is what you're going to hear. Anything that undermines the brand, it confuses people. They log off. They stop paying attention. I think you're going to see a big change in this. And I think CNN has jumped the shark. What they're starting to find is that actually their viewership is going down. And this is dangerous for them because, quite frankly, it's all about advertising dollars. And as you start to show a drop in eyeballs, you start to be able to charge less money. So I think you're going to see just a basic dollars and cents thing. I think also what's happening is the alternative access, call it the alternative press, both on the left wing, right wing. Is Huffington Post mainstream? No. Is Breitbart mainstream? No. But a lot of people are starting to realize that the mainstream media has an agenda. They talk to certain topics. They take information in certain ways. They're not providing that balanced view. And so there's this opportunity to look elsewhere. And I read everything. because again, everyone has a certain piece of information that they can bring to the table. I try to go beyond the spin. I try to understand the bias. And I think right now what you're seeing is the ability to spin information has been fractured. And I think, quite frankly, what we're going through right now there was this anti-Trump initiative 2 years ago, and we're still seeing it. Russian collusion. There is no Russian collusion, and I think everyone with any common sense knows there's no Russian collusion. I mean, there's so much information out there just undermining that whole story.
Yeah, how long can you investigate this and find nothing before you say there isn't anything?
I'll give you an example of the lack of, it's sloppy thinking. What we're seeing out there is sloppy thinking. And you expect mainstream press to be the leads in uncovering things, and instead you're seeing that there's not much leadership, or when there is, they're getting bashed pretty vigorously. A friend of mine had the following, he was holding two entirely contradictory mindsets at the same time, because again, Trump. If it's Trump, it's always bad. And I challenged him on this. So on the one hand, he came out, and if you recall, when Obama was first elected, he got a Nobel Prize for doing nothing. Nobel Peace Prize for doing nothing. That was, that's pretty extraordinary. Right? Trump gets elected, and I call it Ronald Trump, because I think what we're seeing is a total repeat of the pattern we saw when Carter lost to Reagan. But let me show you this one thing that I thought was interesting, because it really is what's going on in the popular mindset and how people, their views and perspectives are so manipulated by the press. Let's go back. Trump is elected president, and all of a sudden the doomsday clock moves forward. It's nightmare times. Oh my God, he hasn't done anything yet, but oh my God, it's the end of the world, right? Never mind that both he and Hillary were also saying the same thing about we've got to be more aggressive militarily. It doesn't matter. It's Donald Trump. Therefore, the end of the world is here. Korea. Now, what does he do? He starts saber rattling with Korea and picking a fight. Oh my God, look at that. The man he's a villain, right?
He's insane.
Oh my gosh. He's trigger happy. But then what happens? All of a sudden, he gets, for the first time in 50 years, a one-to-one. And wow, it worked. He really does understand this stuff, and it's working. All right. He's saber rattling. He's a dangerous guy. And then what does he do? He then says, you know what? To de-escalate and this whole conflict, I'm not going to have a war game. We're not going to have one little war game, just to show a goodwill gesture. So my colleague goes, oh my God, he's pandering now to the Koreans. I'm like, wait. When he's getting them to the table, he's evil. When he does the goodwill gesture, he's a pushover and he's selling out America.
That's what's so remarkable, Andrew. No matter what he does, he'll do
exactly. And now, why did he say this? Because that's what's being said on CNN and in the New York Times, Washington Post, the mainstream press. He is bad. Look at what he's doing. It's bad. Common negotiations. He goes and he tries to work with Russia. Now, Russia's not really a power. They basically have two things: oil and weaponry. They're dangerous because of their geography. They're basically straddling most of the world, right? But they really just have weapons. That's all they bring to the table, and they're a threat. And the weapons are nuclear weapons. But when you go into a negotiation, and this is the difference between bureaucrats running the show and business people running the show. Business people know you don't go in there and make silly comments and undermine your opponent and take these moral positions. You're a bad guy. You go, wow, Vlad, I like you. I like your suit. Okay. You butter them up a little bit. But what happens? Oh my God, that's proof. There you go. He's capitulating to Russia. Well, wait, I thought we wanted to. Okay, so if he's against Russia and the tension in the world rises, that's good. In other words, there's no logical consistency. The only common thread right now in the popular press is if it's Trump, it's got to be bad. Now, I pull back and I look at this and I say, wait a second, let's talk history. We are seeing the exact one-to-one pattern as we saw when we had Reagan come in. And here's why. Remember the Vietnam War. Terrible war. Just as the Iraq war has been terrible in terms of our moral basis for being there, the amount of capital being used, political and real, just the lives being lost, the things we're doing, just wow. It sapped a lot of our energy. So here we go. We come out of that war. We are economically hit. And we elect a guy in Jimmy Carter, just as we elected a guy in Obama who's, kumbaya time, right? Let's all hug. Why? Because the cards are dealt. There's just not much gas in the tank. We can't fight another battle. We can't go out there and do anything economic. We're just biding the time. So you have two people who then, what do? They both focus on domestic policy, on friendship, on all this warm, loving gesture. Basically, you have social, domestic issues rise to the top. Real world issues, you can't deal with those. So what happens? The American public gets tired of these two individuals and what they're doing, because what happens is we're actually, remember, we had Panama going on, Afghanistan going on, Afghanistan again. You basically had the rest of the world, the real world, saying, wow, America's soft right now. We can take advantage. Look at what happens under Obama in the last 2 years as he's limping along. You've got the Russians take Crimea, shades of what happened in Afghanistan. You've got Turkey doing whatever they're doing, bombing the hell out of the Kurds for no reason, just to stay elected and keep that going. And you've got Iran doing what they're doing. Okay? And you've got China basically building military outposts in the sea so they can continue to expand their control. In other words, you have a weak foreign policy everywhere you look.
Right.
And you have a weak economy. You have a disconnection. So in essence, what happens is this war that leads to a softness, you have the swinging again. You have that pendulum swing, and you say, no, we've got to have somebody who comes in with common sense. And that's what we have, is we have someone coming with common sense. And again, under Reagan, oh my God, the doomsday clock, he's terrible, he's crazy. But again, you had someone in Reagan who sat down with the Soviet Union. They sat down eye to eye. And the State Department said, oh, you've got to give them all these things. Russia, the Soviets come in, and they have all these demands. And Ronald Reagan, and this is factual, he stands up and goes, no, you're not ready to talk. And he walks away. And the State Department freaks out. All the experts say, oh, this is terrible. And you know what happens? He calls their bluff, and they come back to the table. And that's what you see. Everyone criticized Donald Trump coming in. He doesn't have experience. Well, he does. He has massive experience where it counts. Remember, Obama had zero experience, and yet somehow he was trumpeted as this guy who's going to save things. What happens is, I think we got ourselves, as a country, we voted in someone who said he would change things, but he didn't. Same thing with Carter. We had a period where we were soft, where we had to kind of get through the downside of a bad economy, the downside of the impact of terrible wars. And then the public said, you know what, we're done apologizing. We're done with kind of just leaning back. We want to lean forward. We are a strong country. And I think with Trump, what you also have is that businessman's mentality, which is, what am I getting for what I'm paying? Now, we've had a couple decades of policy where, we distribute wealth. It's kind of like a Marshall Plan. With China, it was like a Marshall Plan. Hey, we'll give you money, and in return, you're going to grow and you're going to buy from us. And that's largely worked out. NAFTA, EU, it's largely worked out. But, there's no harm in coming to a 70-year-old NATO agreement and saying, it's been 70 years. Is this still working for us? NAFTA, it's been almost 30 years. Is this giving us what we want? There's a lot of low-hanging fruit economically, in other words. And you got a guy coming in who's a businessman who says, oh, wow, this is easy. Wow, China, you have no cards that you can play. I can totally squeeze you and get you to stop doing what you're doing, which is the Japan playbook, which is you're going to block imports. You're going to use the currency to basically sell until, like with Reagan. And again, I keep going back to Reagan. It's Donald Trump and Jimmy Obama. You have under Reagan holding up a hand saying, no more. You're done. You can't continue to steal our IP. Remember, Japan back in the 80s was stealing our intellectual property. They were using their currency. It was at 200 and something, 240. They were using their currency as a way to keep their costs down and make their exports go up. And it's just on down the line. And you have a Trump coming in saying, no, it's time to stop the madness. Now, this is classic. The reaction is classic. Denial, anger, acceptance, right? There was the denial. Oh my God, he couldn't possibly have been elected and only scumbags would have voted for him, right? We've gone through that denial. Now there's anger. We just had the UN, right? Now, what you had is everybody had a year to go. This guy can't be right. And every single foreign policy, every single move that Trump has made has been effective and correct. It is generating exactly what he hoped to do. Now, you can agree or disagree. Doesn't matter. It's effective. He is achieving exactly what he said he would achieve. And it's also very contrary to the accepted wisdom of the people who are unelected and are bureaucrats, the experts, right?
Right. He comes from such a business standpoint.
He understands this.
He understands business, where I think that was what was lacking. We were giving all this away, and what were we getting? We were getting an unstable world where we're afraid of war. That's where we were.
You have so many bad things going on from a security standpoint. I don't mean foreign policy, I mean economic security standpoint. Look at what happened with Turkey. So Turkey does trumped up charges against this pastor, right? This is The rest of the world behaves this way. We live in this bubble in America. The rest of the world uses their strength. China uses their strength to extort, to manipulate, to coerce. We do too, but to a much softer level. We live in a bubble in the U.S. in a lot of ways. You have Turkey saying, you know what? I'm going to try to squeeze the U.S. I'm going to do a couple things here. I'm going to take this guy and just trump up some charges. He hasn't really done anything, but we're going to make it out. Why? Because we want things. We're going to extort. What does Trump do? Not going to happen. Not on my watch. You don't mess with my people. He has literally brought the Turkish economy to its knees for doing this kind of stuff. There's an anecdote that I don't know if it was real or not, but back in the days when we were messing around in Lebanon, the Russians were there too, and they were messing around as well. And the story goes that Hezbollah kidnaps a top Russian guy from the I don't think it was a diplomat, I think it was GRU. Anyway, they kidnap a Russian guy. So what do the Russians do? They kidnap 5 Hezbollah guys and they start sending body parts. Okay? And the message is, we will keep doing this. They will keep going from fingers to toes to more until you give our guy back. And don't mess with us again. Okay, that's an anecdote, but it expresses the way the rest of the world speaks. Nobody messes with Russia because they mess back even worse. And you have a Russia that, if you want to talk who's hurt more Muslims, look at Chechnya. Russia has single-handedly killed over 100,000 people who were Muslim in Chechnya just to keep that under control, just to keep that territory. And yet you don't see the bombings that you see or the attacks that you see in Western Europe in Russia, because everybody knows if you mess with Russia, they mess back. Well, now you've got a guy in charge of America who says, I'm going to mess back. Okay. The rest of the world is still in that denial phase, but they're coming out. Now they're in the anger phase. And so you sort of see that in the UN. We're not going to do, how dare you? Yes, you're paying the piper, but how dare you think you can call the tune? And you sit there and you go, but that's the way it should work. That's the way every single counterparty is operating with the U.S., and yet the U.S. can't do that as well. And you have a Trump saying, that's ridiculous. Of course I'm going to use my power. Why wouldn't the U.S. use power? Now, this is destabilizing, and it's worrying. There's an argument, and I do see this, that says, hey, you know what? Russia's sitting back and eating popcorn and loving every minute of the destabilization that's happening in Europe, the Brexit, everything that's going on there. They love that the U.S. is questioning NATO, and that helps Russia, right? So the argument against Trump is, wait a second, everything you're doing undermines this world order that's working. Now, my argument is, no, the world order is not working, number one. But number two, the end result of this is not a pro-Russia thing. It's a resetting of what are our priorities. You're seeing that in Europe already, organically, where people are pushing back against an EU organization, again, bureaucratic, that's so disconnected that people are saying, your priorities are not really our priorities. Ultimately, what's going to happen is people will reset priorities, and they'll say, wait a second, Italy, Greece, France, Germany, you have more in common together than you have with Russia. Okay? Ultimately, everyone's going to sit back and say, wait a second, the things that we see going on in the rest of the world, that's pretty messy. We don't share those values. We don't have those as our interests. The U.S. and Europe, we will come back together. But there's that period of, like in a marriage, there's a period where sometimes you got to pull back, take a breath, separate for a while, and come back and say, this is what I want out of this relationship. And we do have a lot more going for us than against us. So there'll be a period of instability. But the people who are so vested in the way things are right now are the ones who are, for example, they own the newspapers. A guy like Bezos, he owns the Washington Post. That wasn't just because he believes in that. He owns the Washington Post because he is now I think he is the world's richest man. He owns retail. He knows that he is a target, just as Apple is a target for the business they do and the money that they hide from the U.S. taxman. They know that they're going to come under threat, and they're smart enough to say, hey, I better make sure that I've got my ammunition. Yeah, exactly. I better make sure that I can always guarantee that there's a counter view. Right. It's just interesting the way the politics are going to float. See, I believe in a multipolar world. I believe that what's been going on for 100 years, 200 years is artificial. We've had a few thousand years of what I call the Silk Road. We've heard it, but basically a multipolar world. There was always a China. There was always an India. There was always a Persia, and there was always a Western Europe, and they traded. And then you had other countries that kind of participated in that hitched their cart to that horse, so to speak. We're going back to that. And so when you go back to that trade, what happens is commercial interests become more important. And a lot of the social interests move down the chain. And that's the exact opposite of where we've been under, say, the 8 years of Obama. Social interests were number one. Economic interests were number two. In a commercial world, that's not the way it happens. And that's what you're seeing right now. That's why you're starting to see, for example, you're starting to see those friction points. Korea, these artificial friction points that undermine commercial trade are starting to get addressed. You've got Korea's one of them. Tibet's one, although that's been submerged. I think that'll come up because, again, if you want to punch back at China, you punch them where it hurts, which is Tibet. And then you've got Kashmir. Then you've got Palestine. This is the interesting one I look at. I think if you focus on what's going on with Israel and Palestine in a Trump perspective, you see the classic, everything that Trump is doing economically and in foreign relations, this is a proxy for the way he behaves and what you can expect. I knew a guy in business world who used to say, my deals don't get better, they get worse. Now, under Obama, it was, you didn't like this deal, let me add more sweeteners. In the real world, if I offer you $1 million and you say no, and then you come back, I'm not going to offer you $2 million, I'm going to offer you $500,000. That's what you saw with Trump. He said, look, come to the table, start talking. And the Palestinians said, no, we're not going to talk, we hate you, we're not doing anything. Okay.
It was so extraordinary. He's such a great businessman. I mean, it's like, this is the best deal you're going to get.
I just gave Jerusalem to the Israelis. What's next? We're still not talking. Okay, I'm taking $300 million away. What's next? And all of a sudden, it's like, okay, so you've got money to give to these people who stab guys in the back, but you don't have money for the hospitals? Your priorities are not my priorities, and I don't have to give you the money. So what you see in Trump is my deals don't get better, they get worse. And you know what? I am the one paying your bills. Nobody else is willing to step up and pay your electricity. I am. So, figure out what your priorities are, come to the table. Now, again, nothing happens overnight. It's not linear, but eventually, because there's pride and all these other things, but eventually, and that's where we are, is that acceptance stage. We're kind of heading into the acceptance stage, which is, I kind of can't continue the way things are.
Right.
And so this is what's interesting. You're starting to see this. I pay the money. You do what I say, or I don't pay the money. Hey, you know what? You don't want my money. It's quid pro quo time. There you go. You're going to see this with Europe as well. So Europe is falling apart economically. They're heading into a deep, deep recession. You're going to see this happen. All the experts will be saying, I had no idea this was going on. I've been predicting in my forecasts every month since the start of the year, German factory production has been slowing down, contracting, and I've been predicting it. And every single one of the experts have been saying, oh, no, it's temporary. Now, the reason it's happening is Europe basically did something really interesting. They took in a couple million people, but they paid a lot of money to do that. They have spent in the last 2017, they spent $100 billion to integrate migrants. Now, what does that really mean? Okay. I have to house the migrants, feed them, give them smartphones, healthcare, pay people. In other words, they took all the vacant housing and filled it with people. So what happens? German real estate prices surge to double digits. We had this big wave. 2014, less than $10 billion was spent in all of EU on integrating migrants. Last year, $100 billion. They threw so much public money into the economy. So of course their GDP rose. The pushback from the population has been so severe that they stopped dumping all that money. They capped it. So as a result, the economy is starting to go off a cliff. This is why you see all these strange behaviors out of Europe about partnering with Iran. Let's keep this Iran deal going. They don't care. There's no morality here. Okay. Again, let's go back to the beginning. We talk about the media taking these positions and more. There's no morality when it comes to politics. It's a commercial interest all the way. Morality becomes convenient. So if there's a morality issue, don't believe it. What's going on is Europe is now desperate. They know that they're heading for a deep, deep recession, and they don't know what to do about it. And then you've got an Iran that says, hey, I've got $100 billion I could spend. Oh, and my shopping list is planes. Europe, you make planes. And I need equipment. Siemens, I could really use you. And oil infrastructure, I got all this money. I could throw billions your way. Europe is going to start to find that they're picking a fight, and they have to make a decision. Do we do business with Iran for a few billion, or do I pick a fight with Trump? Now, Europe and the U.S. have economies that, in theory, are similarly sized. In reality, Europe is not as economically viable as the U.S. is. And so what you're going to see is an interesting showdown. Go back to that denial and acceptance. Europe is right now in denial. They really don't understand that the world has changed under Trump, and that Trump's view is, Estonia, you're not an equal partner. You're not. You're a junior partner, okay? Lithuania, you don't get to call the shots here. Now, you have other countries in Eastern Europe that have dealt with Russia for a long time, and they understand the real-world threats. They understand the idea of, yeah, I'm a junior partner. Hence, Poland raises their hand and says, you want to put a military base here? Please do. Whereas you've got in the UK and France, they've been in a bubble now for 3 generations, 4 generations. They haven't had to take care of their national security for some time, and their behaviors show that they take us for granted. I mean, case in point, and again, I agree with Trump on his foreign policy. On the one hand, the U.S. is footing the bill to protect Europe via NATO. We're footing the bill. They're really not contributing that much. We're out there footing the bill, protecting Germany in particular from the big bad boogeyman of Russia. Okay, we're spending billions, tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars to do this. And then Germany undermines everything we're doing by buying oil from Russia, which then boosts Russia. Okay, so on the one hand, we spend money to protect you from the guy who you're basically keeping afloat by buying oil. And there have been so many alternatives to this that, you know, Europe's like, yeah, but it's so convenient to get it from Russia. Why is it convenient? Because we've removed the threat, the military threat from you, and we're carrying that weight. And so Trump raises his hand and says, you know, we're not going to do this anymore.
Yep.
What was the first reaction? Oh my God, you don't get it. Oh my God, you're pro-Russian. Oh my God. Why? Well, we want you to go from 1% of your GDP to the agreed upon level of spending. Why are we footing the bill to protect you? Let's just start with the basics. Oh my God, how horrible. No, we've been saying this for a long time. Apparently, I'm the only one who's willing to come in and
yeah, I'm the only one that's really willing to say you're gonna do what you said you were gonna do, or we won't continue doing what we've been doing.
Now, and this is why Trump is going to get elected. I mean, for some reason, people think that the president should be erudite, well-spoken. He should know Shakespeare by heart. Look, we don't have that in Trump. We didn't think we were getting that in Trump. What do we think we were getting in Trump? He said, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm plain speaking, this is what I'm going to do. And this is why the guy's going to get reelected. 2 reasons. 1, he says what he's going to do, and he does it. Okay, Obama, I'm going to shut down Guantanamo Bay. Yeah, how'd that work out? You know, not that he's a liar, he's just a classic politician. They're all scumbags, right? They're just going to say whatever they need to say.
He just sort of charms you and then leaves you there to continue fending for yourself, right? Obama did.
Says the right things, right? That's what politicians are supposed to say.
And Trump says all the wrong things, like, I'm going to crush you.
Okay, let me see if I got this straight. The guy's been married several times. He's had affairs. He runs casinos. We knew he was not the poster boy for moral.
He's not an angel.
But we had a problem. We looked around, and I think this is what most people do. They looked around and said, wait, this isn't right.
We have no money, right?
Something's wrong here. What do we, can we elect someone who understands and gets it and is able to push back? And I think this is what you're seeing is, he's effective. And that's why he's going to get reelected. Hey, if I said I was going to do this, and again, you go down his list, the only thing he hasn't done was the healthcare, he said he was going to take out the Obamacare. He didn't. Okay, but he's eroded it enough where alternatives will come out. And it wasn't his fault he made a play. Now, here's why he's going to get elected, reason part 2, the economy. Now, the economy is his economy. I love the way Obama likes to come out and his cronies like to come out and say, oh, that's just the aftermath of my efforts. No, my friend, we were heading to a recession the last year of your presidency. If you were sitting in on conference calls on earnings day, the way I was, as we were heading into the election in September, coming out in October, every single CEO at that point was saying, if things are the way they are, I'm going to have massive layoffs in January. Trump gets elected and everything changes overnight. Why? Because you have somebody who has said, this is what I plan to do. Now, Trump understands showmanship. Remember, the guy used to run boxing, football, Miss World, Miss America, whatever the one he was. This is someone who understands showmanship. So he's going to have a pace at which he's deploying things. The economy, it's the same thing. He's going to have a pace. He's not going to put everything on the table yet. He started with giving us tax cuts. That gets the economy strong. What does he do then? Well, I'm going to put some tariffs out there because I want to extract from others. And you know what? Those tariffs have been, it's mixed, but ultimately, net, it's positive for the U.S. I don't care what the
Everybody went crazy on the tariffs. Oh, it's going to be war. It's going to be, it's like.
It's terrible. No, you know what? Because you just had to sit back and realize the U.S. has all the cards. They really do. And South Korea's already cut a deal. Mexico cut a deal. Why? Because, the rats leaving the sinking ship get the best deals. Canada's next. They're going to fold. Europe will fold. They're ready to fold. It's just, my gosh, this is horrible. The big prize is China. And again, he's squeezing China hard. He's playing harder ball with China because there's a lot more money at stake and a lot more things at stake. But the guy understands the economy. He understands basic business. He understands how to negotiate. I don't care if he's a flake and everything. Yesterday, his solo post-UN thing was hilarious. He looked like an idiot. Let's face it. The guy looked like a total idiot in the Q&A. I don't care. He's effective. Now, it could be him, could be his team. I don't care. The man's doing things and getting things done the way I would like them to get done in terms of the economy and foreign policy. What we've got, though, is if he's got more tools in his toolkit to deploy, and this is why I think he's going to win. We got this sugar high of the economy going on. We got the tax cut. Within a few months, that starts to slow down because it's a year-over-year thing. Hey, what's next? One thing that he was talking about last year was an infrastructure bill. And if you notice, that hasn't been raised yet. We're going into a midterm election, and everyone's been expecting this massive wave of Democrats being elected. Personally, I don't think so. I think everything the Democrats are doing is absolutely great for Republicans. By the way, I'm independent. I think all politicians, if I haven't said it 4 times already, they're all scumbags. You've got these amazingly socialist, hard-left Democrats being elected. The Republicans, those are the poster child for what causes fear in most of America is, oh my God, you're going to take all this stuff, you're just going to tax and redistribute. It's the ultimate fear of what Democrats are, which is socialist. That's the fear. You're just socialist. You're not really working.
They've really gone that way, haven't they? Almost the entire party. It's extraordinary.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, how do you get votes from, basically, again, go back to branding. If Fox wants to have these viewers, they do these things. The Democrats have decided, and I think they're mistaken. I think the Democrats have misunderstood what's going on in this country. They've decided that the key to their success is to create a patchwork of small groups instead of a big base. And so that patchwork is made up of a lot of minorities and lower income people. Unfortunately, I think what they're finding is, wait a second, minorities are attracted to the concept of jobs. They like the idea. They like what Trump is doing. And so you're actually seeing polls saying, wow, Hispanics actually aren't all universally against a border control. Right. And they're not all universally against Trump. In fact, a lot of the culture, the Hispanic culture, is family, is traditional. And that's certainly not represented in the Democratic platform, which is much more liberal, I think, than what you would see. So there's a natural, Republicans kind of appeal a little bit more nowadays to minorities in the sense of their family world, the economic world. There are things there that appeal. So you've got these wonderful poster child on the Democratic side where you've got people who are working going, the only reason you're out there and able to, chant and hold up signs is because you're not working. Wait a second, what's going on? And again, big broad brush strokes, and I'm painting the picture, but that's the perspective you have. So the Democrats are coming in, and they're holding up agendas that don't matter. Russia, Russia, Russia. Nobody cares. Trump is coming out and saying, how's that economy doing? And so he's going to force the Democrats into an economic discussion. And everything that you go down that list on that's about the economy will be pro-Trump. And Trump is also getting rid of some of the Republicans who were against him. He's kind of elbowing them out, raising up the ones who are mimicking his agenda. So you come into the last 2 years of his presidency, okay? Let's go to next year. Let's say the economy slows down a little bit, a lot, whatever it is. Hey, 4.2% GDP, that's hard to beat. We're not going to beat that. We're probably, after the sugar high of tax cuts, after the giveaways to corporate America, things will slow down. Now, what does he do? He's going to roll out an infrastructure bill probably sometime next year. And he's in the catbird seat. If the Democrats control the House, that's perfect because they're going to be no. They're going to be the party of no. They're stuck. They're in a bad place. If they say no infrastructure bill and the economy slows down, Trump can say, I don't know what I can do. It's their fault. The economy is slowing down as we go into an election year because the Democrats. Now, if they say yes, Trump can say, see what I did? I'm amazing. I'm yet again helping out the U.S. economy. Oh, and by the way, the next time San Francisco, you want to build a Bay Bridge and you want government money, you will not be allowed to buy Chinese steel the way you did this time. You're going to buy U.S. steel, right? Again, remember in the deep recession when there was this, maybe we should buy American, and China and France were like, how dare you? No, that's terrible. And yet at the same time, that's what they're doing is, Chinese were buying Chinese, French. They were making sure they were taking care of their own.
Of course they were.
I mean, this is what's so hilarious is to have China say the U.S. is bullying countries and trying to, come on, China, that's what you do. That's how you make your bread and butter. Anyway, so I think Trump is easily elected because he owns the economic agenda. The narrative will be Trump came in, immediately turned things around. You're going to have on social issues problems, right? There are problems. He is not mom. He is not the one you go to when you get an owie, right? This is dad. Dad came in and he said, let me see if I got this straight. It's risky business, right? He came home. There's Tom Cruise in his underwear. The house is a mess. It's totally torn up. Dad comes in and, wait, let me see if I got this straight. You're calling me a son of a bitch. You've torn up the house and you want me to buy you a car and give you an allowance? That's not the way things work around here. I understand with mom, that might have been the way because mom understood your issues. She understood how you resent me. She understood about that time you dropped your ice cream on the floor and I wouldn't get you another one because you needed to learn a painful lesson about not running around with an ice cream cone in your hand. I don't play that game, man. That's not me, Go out and mow the lawn, then we'll talk. That's the kind of guy we have. He doesn't understand softness. And there are some places, though, where we need to be a little bit better. I think there are some things where simply a quid pro quo or saying I pay $1, what do I get doesn't work. However, having said that, I do think we have in America now that's, we've always had this awareness that things don't work well when you just can't see transparency to how the dollars are being spent in taxes. We understand that. There was an excellent data point came out today. Barely 50% of New York City students in the 3rd to 8th grade can speak English proficiently or do math proficiently. Not because they're immigrants. It's just we do a terrible job of teaching. And all this money's going in. Where is it being spent? And so I see that side of a Trump that says, wait a second, I'm spending money. I'm not getting the results. What are we going to do about this? What happens is then you get mired because that desire to show information and reveal and show and be transparent about what you're doing works against the embedded status quo. And it's easy for the status quo to make these high moral arguments. But you got 6 years of Trump, is my opinion. And so I think there's going to be some more changes going on around the world. And I want to sit back, get a big box of popcorn and just.
Well, now, Andrew, are you bullish on any commodity at this point?
Oh, wow. If I were investing, right, I would be bullish the stock market in general. I mean, hey, big picture, interest rates are getting tighter. That's never a good thing. You're seeing that in the housing market. Hey, if the mortgage cost doubles within 2 years, yeah, you're probably not going to have as many qualified buyers and so on and so forth. So we're going to have a little bit of problems there. But overall, stock market's doing well. I'm not a gold or Bitcoin expert, but I noticed a couple things recently with Bitcoin. Can I talk about Bitcoin? It's not like your audience.
Absolutely. Bitcoin, right? Yes. Bitcoin's one of my favorite topics.
Let's talk Bitcoin.
And cannabis. I'm all about it.
Now, I'm going to use Bitcoin. I really mean crypto because there's Bitcoin, there's Ripple, there's Ethereum, but right. and all the other sisters and brothers. Let's just talk Bitcoin as just crypto. We had recently a really global meltdown. Started with Turkey. This is back in August. Started with Turkey, where Trump basically said, that's it. Time out for you, Turkey. And the lira crashed and all these other things happened. What really was going on was as the economy slows down and as interest rates go up, emerging markets are exposed. They're very dependent on the global economy. They're contributing to it. So if the global economy slows down, their production is going to slow down. But also they're very debt heavy. And so that's where the hands get exposed a little bit. I looked at Bitcoin. And the cool thing is, you can look at Bitcoin at a country level. And so I looked at it and said, we just had a crisis. What happened with Bitcoin during that crisis? And I'll tell you why. Gold is one thing, right? If I want to get $50,000 of gold and I'm in Iran, I'm in Shiraz and I want to get $50,000 worth of my money out of the bank. I'm going to turn to gold, and I'm going to have to buy how many heavy bricks?
Exactly.
You know what? Okay. How do I smuggle a brick?
How do I carry this
What
around?
do I do, right? You know? Wow.
Who wants to trade me for this big thing, right?
And so my thesis, and I was talking to some of my clients, and I said, okay, and this was back in June. I said, guess what? The lira is going to crash. You know, Turkey's picked a fight with the U.S. when the coup happened. Turkey's overstretched. If I had to pick any economy that's about to crumble, it's Turkey. So watch the lira. And we said there's going to be a Bitcoin moment. So the idea is, instead of a brick of gold, wait, I can get a SIM card. It's this big, and it's got $50,000 on it, and I can take it anywhere. Well, one group said, wait a second. It's not going to be Bitcoin. People won't use that as an alternative to gold because the cost of conversion. You know, gold price is very liquid. There's a tiny fraction that I charge on the front end, the back end, and gold prices aren't that volatile at the moment. Bitcoin, heck, it moves 5-10% in a day. It's very volatile. And I pushed back and I said, okay, time out. You're using American eyes and you're using European eyes. In the rest of the world, they don't have access to liquidity and banks the same way we do, okay? And so when we talk about gold converting back and forth, you're going to see a minimum of a 3 to 5% hit converting one way and a 3 to 5% hit converting the other way. So you're basically talking about losing 6 to 10% of your money when you put it into gold and want to take it out. Bitcoin, okay, 5 to 10%, got it. So it's the same rate, but it's even more liquid because then my conversion rate is nominal. It's barely there. It barely costs me anything to convert. So my argument was, in terms of a substitute for gold during a crisis, Bitcoin is perfect. And again, you could argue Ripple, or actually Ethereum's even better, but Bitcoin is the brand. Everyone knows Bitcoin. All right, so here was the thing. Turkey crashes, and I looked at each country and I said, you know what? This is where the common people are now starting to buy, but not just the common people. Again, take off the US European goggles. In the rest of the world, the powers that be share information, collusion, insider trading. Of course it happens. Come on. And they're the people who are most likely to be having access to the internet, having access to banking where they can buy Bitcoin. And what was interesting was which countries popped in terms of, during that crisis, you saw Bitcoin volume surge. Interestingly enough, I didn't see it in Iran, but I saw it in India. You saw the usual suspects. You saw a surge in demand in Argentina, in Venezuela. My message is, you can predict which countries are problematic by looking at what happened just a couple of weeks ago in the Bitcoin purchasing. You just look at Bitcoin now as a leading indicator. So if you're in the foreign exchange world, or you're thinking, hey, maybe I'm into buying stocks in other countries, whatever, I might have an ETF that's focused on Japan or something. I would strongly suggest just take a look at Bitcoin volume trading back in August and more recently. And that is your guiding post to where you should and shouldn't be. So where you should be long.
Wow, that's really interesting that it's becoming a barometer.
It was amazing because since then, for example, I raised my hand and said, India. Wow, for some reason, India went crazy with Bitcoin. And remember, we just went through in India, they've got a festival called Diwali, which we just went through. And that's a big gold buying period. So India, a lot of gold gets purchased. You saw gold prices actually, during this whole fiasco with Turkey, gold prices went down, Bitcoin rose. So
in
again,
India?
All across the world. And then in India, you had a surge in demand for Bitcoin. So it was not like, oh, there's a holiday that's driving money over to Bitcoin. No, quite the opposite. It shouldn't have been going to Bitcoin. It should have been going to gold, and it didn't. So,
because in India, that's all they do. They wear tons of gold, jewelry, gold, everybody.
Gold, again, go back to, look, in emerging markets, you don't put your money in paper. Why would you do that? You keep a chunk of it in gold because that's liquid. That's what you do. Diwali happens to be a major holiday in India, festival and holiday, when you give gold as presents. It's a big gold buying thing. I don't know enough about the holiday to know if that's kind of like Mother's Day or something. The chocolate companies like to pump up Mother's Day, to get Mother's Day chocolate sold. It could be the gold buyers are pumping up Diwali. Hey, did you get your gold? But bottom line, take a look at Bitcoin. If you're Bitcoin savvy, it's really easy. Just Google Bitcoin by country. It's tons of places will show you. But start looking. Look at the main companies and countries. And what's interesting is Russia, no problem. Russia could be a place where you start investing again. I don't know. I'm not saying, but start paying attention to Bitcoin because it tells you what the local population really thinks about the economic confidence. Are they feeling good or feeling bad? And remember, a lot of the times in these countries, you're also talking about that upper class, in the know group of people. We've gone past the adoption stage. You know, the U.S. was an early adopter. Europe, Korea, early adopters. We've finally gotten through that, I think, in all these other economies, and so now you can really use it as a barometer. The other thing, and this is a short-term one. I don't usually talk about stocks, but this was interesting. And I don't know. Do we have time for another thought?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
Go for it.
Okay. So, media, newspapers have always had classified sections, always made their money off the classifieds, and we're talking for over 100 years. This is the way you made your money. And you had your personal sections. And those two have always been abused by con men, by grifters, whatever the case, you know, snake oil, whatever. Traditionally, we never held newspapers accountable for their advertisers. Third-party advertisers, hey, you know, they're saying it, I'm not, I'm the Hearst newspaper world. Whatever they say in the advertisement is them. So buyer beware. We had a big sea change in April. Congress passed a law. The concern over underage sex trafficking on Craigslist, on Reddit, and many other websites hit a point where Congress said, you know what? It's so easy to put up an ad that we need to make it hard. And so what they did is they passed a law that said from now on, that third party, you know, it's not us, it's them. No, from now on, you are responsible. Okay, so Craigslist, if someone in a personal section posts something and we find out today, tomorrow, a month from now, a year from now, that she was underage or he was underage, you're liable and we're going to charge you a lot of money. Craigslist, Reddit, and all these free personal sites said we won't do this anymore.
Right. And then they completely stopped, right? They took all their personals down.
Personals down, done. We can't afford it. Could be up for 10 seconds. You know, basically it's a business decision. I could put a team of 1,000 people looking at every ad, create filters, all this. Or I could just say, okay, it's free. It never made me money, so who cares? It was a public gesture, whatever. What does that really mean? It means you have 1 million plus people trying to hook up and nowhere to go for free.
Right.
So I immediately told my subscribers, you need to go and you need to invest in the one company that owns almost every pay site. Tinder, Grindr, Match, was Adult Friend Finder. They're all owned by one company.
Oh.
IAC.
What is it?
IAC, Interactive Corporation, IAC. So they were trading at about $160. This is back in May, June. I said, oh my God, think about it. They don't have to do anything, and you've got 1 million people who want to hook up, and they're willing to pay that monthly, I don't know, was it 10, 15, 20, whatever it is. Oh my God, this is just money, 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 money. They don't do anything at all. So what happens? Within 2 weeks, I said, go, you got to go into this. Well, Facebook must have seen the same thing because a couple of weeks later, they said, we're going into the personals world, right? Well, the problem is with Facebook, and again, I advise people, Facebook can't do this. This is anonymous stuff. The last thing you want, if you're anonymously trying to hook up, is to be able to have that that breadcrumb trail back to your Facebook. No, it doesn't work, right? So I said, no, Facebook's not the threat. The stock went from 160 down to 130. It's back up to almost 250. Okay, it has gone up almost 35% in a couple months. Why?
Wow.
Earnings start to come out. The bill went into place in April. Earnings get released in August. Match.com comes out and says, wow, look at that. Our revenues went up 30-something%, and it was pretty much free money, 100% margin. IAC, which owns, I think, 70 or 80% of Match, is like, look at that. Every single one of our websites is making money. It's not going to stop. So you've got this going on for a couple more quarters where IAC is going to say, well, since we're the only place in town where you can meet somebody, and it could be, you know, a real relationship, or it could be, you know, the Tinder.
And they could be real.
Could be, whatever it is.
They might actually look like that.
You know, congratulations. We have to bump up our prices from $10 to $15.
Oh.
They can start now because there's no other game in town.
Wow.
I'm looking at this. I invest. My whole investment thesis is go where there's a monopoly or oligopoly, where you've got that pricing power. Because Netflix, we have Netflix, we've got Amazon and Hulu. Okay? That's an oligopoly. Well, I don't believe I own Amazon. I have to say I own exactly 3 stocks right now, and I have to be careful because I don't want to be charged, talking about Amazon. I just love Amazon. I don't think the digitalization of retail is anywhere, any way, shape, or form done. I own Disney because I have kids, and oh my God, when you have kids, everything is Disney, Disney, Disney. And then I own Twitter. So there, just for compliance reasons, wanted to throw that out. We're done.
Okay.
Moving on. Okay, so I look at this and I say, Amazon, I hate dealing with their video interface. Oh my God, it's horrible. Netflix, very sweet, very easy to use. And Hulu's kind of like the afterthought. Yeah. And then there's Hulu, right? And then there's Hulu.
And then there's Google.
And then there's Voodoo. Well, yeah, okay, whatever. I mean, who cares, right? It's really Netflix. They really dominate. And if they raise their prices, Amazon will wink, wink, raise theirs or not. But I love these kind of choke points. And they can be in so many different places. Where there's no competition, that's where I like to put my money. There's no competition to Disney. Look, I don't care what the vagaries of the current world is around Twitter. I don't care. Oh, not enough eyeballs, too many eyeballs, fake accounts. Is there anything you use to communicate with people that's not Twitter? Is there an also? There's no also to Twitter. There really isn't. What's that? WhatsApp? Yeah. Look,
Twitter's the king.
Twitter's the king, and it's theirs to lose. And now they've got, they're looking at ways to monetize even better. It doesn't matter. Look, there really is. They can raise their prices incrementally, just like Netflix did. Hey, I'll charge you another $1 a month to my subscribers. Did they lose subscribers?
Nope. They just gained a lot of money.
They just it's like if Amazon wanted to be profitable, more profitable, raise Prime $1 or $2. And they did. It's not a big deal because we'll sit there and go, pencil it out. Yeah,
most people won't even notice $1, but their bottom line, that's huge.
And it's a fractional thing. And it's like what airplanes did. Do you remember when oil was at $100 and airplane companies said, we've got to charge you to reflect the higher oil prices, we've got to charge you more for suitcases. And we all said, yeah, I get it. Okay. You don't want to raise the fare, $25, whatever. Oil prices go down to $40. So naturally, the airlines, which are shipping around billions of people, billions of suitcases, that $25 fee was waived. It disappeared, right? Right? Not at all. Every airlines company still charges that $25. They slipped it in. Oil prices, they're killing us. Oil prices when they're $40, $50, $60, not killing you anymore. Why is that fee still there?
But they're still not going to give it up.
And that's what you do, man. Hundreds of millions of people, billions of people on airplanes every year times $25, right? And now they're starting to, and so naturally what do people do is they respond by not checking in bags. And now now the next wave is, we're going to get a little bit more aggressive on come on guys, just raise your ticket prices $25.
Right, just
it's like going to Vegas and you go to the hotels and you've got that $30 hospitality fee. Come on guys, just charge me $30. Put it on the hotel tab. We know you're going to charge. Why do you have, is there a tax reason? Like the tax on the room versus, it's like, come on. At the end of the day, you're playing games and we're not, hopefully we're not stupid, but it's that fractional bit. If I can do it. And that's what the taxes are all about in our country. And that's what I'm surprised transparency isn't stronger in the internet age. Because again, how many times do we go to the voter booths and they're like, oh, we're going to do a bond measure for this, for that. And I never stop and go, wait a second. I'm in California, for example. We have the lottery, and that money is supposed to go, as I understand it, 100% to the education system. Same thing with property taxes. That's there for the education system. And yet I get the sense that that's not happening. Maybe I'm wrong. Show me. And so I'm surprised. Here we are going into our 3rd decade of the internet. Isn't that amazing? The internet really came out in 94? We're 24 years into this. And for whatever reason, I don't get transparency to this much money came in to the state, the city, the federal government, and here's exactly where it's going. Not military defense, but how many drones did you buy? Or hey, wait a second, how much money went into schoolyard landscaping maintenance? Just I want to break it out because I myself maybe there's a business opportunity. If you're spending, a great example, I don't know if you ever heard of this family called the Bronfmans. No reason you should.
Mhm.
Bronfman's large family, I think they were in Toronto, very religious Jewish family, but you might know them today because they own Seagram's. They used to own, I forget.
Right, that's where the name comes from in my mind.
Exactly. They built Canary Wharf in London, for example. They created the whole London as the base of financial stuff going on.
Oh.
But they didn't start out to do that. Okay, so one day, I think it was Edgar Bronfman, I think was his name, senior. Again, don't hold me accountable to all the facts here, but essentially the idea is he wanted to build a warehouse. So he goes out and gets bids, and they're all just, he goes, wait a second, there's no way it should cost this much money to build a warehouse. I know what lumber prices are. And, so what does he do? He does it himself. I'm going to build my own warehouse. I can buy the lumber. I can hire guys to build it. And sure enough, it's half the cost, right? And it's not a do-it-yourself handyman go on YouTube experience. No, he does. It's professional. And all of a sudden, other people come to him and say, hey, can you do that for me? And that's how he gets his start in real estate.
Wow.
And that's the start of the empire. It's the same thing. It's our spending is so blind to us. And by the way, I'm not trying to get on a soapbox, but I'm sitting here thinking, our spending is so not transparent that that's exactly what's going on, is that you have these situations where people are getting fat, dumb, and happy off the taxpayers' dollars. I don't like that. I'd rather because again, the hand is always out. It's that incremental, I need to charge you another $50, Mr. Zatlin, because why? No, why? The economy's doing great. California, if you're getting a percentage of everyone's salary and capital gains and all and housing, you shouldn't have your hand out anymore, right? Why do you need to keep raising why is this still going on, right? And so I think I would like to see it. I don't think Trump is not an internet savvy guy. He's not the president who would move this forward. But I have a feeling that after a while, and it's interesting because I live in the Bay Area, the home of the digital economy,
right?
Where you would expect to see these big thinkers say, you know what, I'd like to see San Francisco, you're spending how many millions of dollars on this? San Francisco just budgeted, what, a couple $1 million on human poop pickup. Really? We have to do that because we now have all this homeless stuff going on. And where's the money going? And I would like to think that the internet can open those doors. And all of a sudden you'd have people like a Bronfman come in and say, wait, lawn mowing.
Yeah, let's see. I want to see the
spending $10 million. I'll do that for $5. Well, you need to go through the bidding process. I'll do that. Well, and you start getting that nervousness, kind of like what Trump is experiencing. I'll do this. You can't. If you do that, then the whole world will fall apart.
Things will change.
Really? Anyway, I'm excited because I'm optimistic. And I think this is coming from Trump. Bring it back to Trump. When you've got somebody who's just going after the low-hanging fruit, who's just doing the common sense stuff that we've been dying to see, and it's not throwing your weight around. It's just, no, this is the way the real world operates. Let's just be smart about this. It makes me optimistic that something like I just described, well, why aren't we showing transparency in government spending at a level of granularity and visibility that we can? There's no reason. It's a spreadsheet sitting on someone's desk, right? Somewhere in the government. We should be able to see it, not the high level. I want to know, hey, how much money are we spending on limousine service for our various elected officials?
That's right.
Maybe Uber should be.
We have to show ours. I think they should show theirs.
Yeah. Anyway, got off tangent there, but but when you start doing that, you start unblocking the economy. You start forcing it to be more productive, effective, and that just everyone benefits from that. Well, except for the people who have got their
who get real mad about it.
Yeah. The ones who are getting fat, dumb, and happy on the way things are.
They're like, hey, we don't want it to change. This is bad stuff.
Exactly.
Andrew,
anyway, thanks for having me on.
It's so wonderful to have you on the show. Please tell us about your website and how everybody can follow your work.
Sure. So Moneyball Economics is a free to subscribers website, Moneyball Economics. The idea is we're not looking at what we should be looking at, and we're looking at things that we shouldn't be looking at. And it's just a simple looking at information, real information, and what that tells us about investment opportunities, the economy at large. Free weekly mailer goes out. Then there's a subscription where there's specific ETF and stock picking every week. Very proud to say our ETFs, the selection's just been amazing. Stocks have been good, not as great as we ones where we're still beating the market, but we're not crushing the market. I apologize. But the ETFs are crushing it. Every month we've been beating the S&P.
Crush it, Andrew.
Almost every month now for a year and a half. Substantially beating it. Again, just using Moneyball economics. This is where things are happening. You invest where there's business activity. You disinvest where there isn't. Why would you stick around in a company that's limping along? Why wouldn't you chase after a company that's just growing? That subscription, that I think I don't know what we charge right now, but it's just a few pennies a month.
It's extraordinary.
Probably a little bit more than that. Probably a little bit more than that. But anyway.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been great.
Take care, everyone. Take care, everyone.
Oh, we will. Mr. Andrew Zatlin, the founder of Moneyball Economics. For the Leaders of Tomorrow's show, I'm Michelle Holliday at PortfolioWealthGlobal.com.
Charles Nenner on major stock market crashes and gold crashes, Charles Hugh Smith on the wealth gap, Rob Kirby sounding the alarm and revealing the $21 trillion missing dollars conspiracy. And we have some incredible interviews lined up for Q4 of 2018. After Tom Beck's latest stock profile soared 525% in 2 weeks, becoming the best performing stock in North America. He is about to publish another under the radar stock in the free newsletter. Make sure you are on the list.